Recording in progress.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to our session today. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here gathered for a webinar session with the Center for Ayurveda and Indian Systems of Healing. I can see many people who have joined there's some familiar names there and new names as well. So, welcome everybody and thank you for taking the time out. I'll quickly introduce myself and the center before passing it on to Dr. Rosa Moradi, who will be leading the session. So, my name is Sarah, and I'm the administrator and admissions coordinator at the Center for Ayurveda and Indian Systems of Healing, which of course we call KAISH. And so this center, KAISH, has been running since about 2002, offering Ayurvedic studies, and there's different courses, programs, and workshops that have been offered since then, both in person and online. And we have a wonderful faculty. And Dr. Rosa Moradi, of course, is a faculty member as well as a practitioner of Ayurveda. And before I hand it over to Rosa, I would like to share that next Wednesday on February the 25th at 6 p.m., we will be having an open house. A virtual open house again for Kaish, so look out for more details on that through our social media and newsletter, and you can reach out to me as well. And that session will be more about our courses, both beginner introduction courses, advanced courses, as well as shorter courses, scope of practice, faculty, and so much more. So bring your questions and share with anyone that you know who might be interested. And yeah, so you can also feel free to message the chat or message me or whatever means you see at your end to send messages and questions. And at the end of the session, we can discuss and do a brief question and answer. So I'll hand it over to you, Rosa.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Great introduction. I would appreciate just for the noise purposes, if I think everyone's muted. But if you have any questions, by all means, just as Sarah said, type it in the chat, and I will take Q&A question and I will answer them at the end. Now, today's topic is very, very meaningful for me, and that is one of the reasons that I felt really comfortable talking about it in this session, and then also hopefully in the future to host it as a workshop. Because when we're talking about gut brain axis, it's not a matter of 30 minutes or 40 minutes to cover. It's way, way deeper than that. Of course, Sarah has introduced me well, so I'm not going to go through the details. Many of you, I see a lot of familiar names here as well. I just wanted to mention that gut-brain axis has gained a little bit of specialty in my own practice since I started practicing Ayurveda. And coming from an MD background, I was like, okay, we can talk about SIBO, we can talk about irritable bowel syndrome. Almost a lot of people that I started visiting in the office, maybe 65% had IBS. And when I go deeper and deeper in it, I was like, okay, there's a guideline of food recommendations by the doctors, and that's it. Now, after learning Ayurveda, I discovered that it's not only the food. Yes, the food plays a huge role, but what was the problem with that approach? What was an issue that when someone goes to the doctor with a lot of gas, bloatedness, or constipation, they would only focus on that digestive system area? Was something definitely missing? And now, after 10,000 years, science has backed us up finally to publish a lot of the studies about this is due to gut brain axis. Now, it's not only gut and brain. I want at the beginning of this webinar, I would like to point out that it's not only that connection happening between brain and gut. We also have different connections from brain to heart, joints. So you can actually relate every other system or in your body and just put the whole flash all the way to the mind, brain, and look at it from that perspective. But today we're going to focus on this time being. I try my best to decrease the amount of my PowerPoint. Those of you who have been to my classes, I like to explain and explain and explain. I try to minimize it to 20 slides so that we can, just overly and generally look at it. Now, Ayurveda, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's very, very important to know what is Ayurveda. Word by word means science of life that has history way more than 5,000 years. And it's one of the first invented medical systems that actually looked at this gut-brain axis. That's what among all of us practitioners, we always say, finally, because we knew it from the beginning that focusing on one system may not be as effective as you see in other connections with it. Now, the foundation of Ayurveda has been showing us that why is it crucial to look at different systems when we indeed have complained about a specific system. For example, when are we looking at gut specifically, and it happens to me at the clinic all the time, if I'm looking at a person and I am evaluating them as a whole, not just treating bowel syndrome or just treating bloatedness or constipation, but as who this person is. In this case, I'm going to give an example from myself. Who is Rosa at the mental level, at the soul level, and at the physical part? My treatment approach will be incomplete. And Ayurveda has shown this because it's a way of engineering, right? That it says there are three energies, three doshas, those of you who know Ayurveda, that governs what's going on in Rosa's mind, Rosa's body, and Rosa's soul. So how can I go and just jump in to the concept of any symptoms of gut health system without discovering who she is? Let's say after you discover, many of you, maybe you know your doshas, your energy, bioenergies, they call it constitution, they call it Ayurvedically Prakruti. And this is what I want you to take away from this whole, there's a lot of takeaway points, but one thing that I would ask all of you, this is why you cannot simply go to Ayurvedic practitioners and say, I have gut issues, what can I do? Or give me this medicine. Yes, there are a lot of herbs, a lot of beautiful Ayurvedic treatments. But let's say that after 30 days, after a month of taking that herbal medicine, what's going to happen? Another digestive issue related problem will arise. Or if the actual cause of that bloatedness, let's say, has not been discovered, we're just going to keep giving Ayurvedic treatment for the gut. And as I always mention in my classes and webinars, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So why is it essential? Whenever you visit an Ayurvedic practitioner for a specific symptom, for a specific complaint, they need to observe you as mental health, soul health, and physical health. That's number one. Number two, we need to discover the energies that govern all that health, which we usually call them doshas. And now this dosha, if for those of you who have not been, familiar with Ayurveda, which is totally okay, they need to know who is she and what is the problem. Now, just like taking the test or finding out, oh, am I Vata Pitta, Kapha Pitta? It is helpful, But again, it is incomplete. And I will tell you exactly what I mean by that. Because gut itself, if I do not look at the brain activity, if I do not look at the mental health, any approach for gut health will be incomplete. It's like you have to look at the partners. Think about it as you're the two CEOs of one company and you're only listening to the complaint that comes up from one partner. Okay, you go into the court and the court is just keep continuously listening to that partner's complaint. And it says, okay, you can do this, you can do this. And at the end, the person goes, but I'm not alone. I have a partnership with another person. And the court or the judge says, oh my God, why didn't you say this at the beginning? Because then systematically we could have worked together. I would listen to your complaint, I would listen to his complaint or hers, and we would come up with a mutual solution. These three bioenergies, for so many of you, probably you're familiar with this, but please allow me to just briefly explain this to those of you who may not know about Ayurveda or don't have enough background. Those three bioenergies, those three doshas, I'm using different terminologies because there are different terminologies used in both Western explanation of Ayurveda and in Ayurveda in India. Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Now, if I do not know what is that person's body type or body constitution, I'll tell you exactly why is it difficult to access any gut-related issues. Now, these bioenergies consist of 5 elements. That is the main number one foundation of Ayurveda. We have 5 elements divided into 3 doshas or bioenergies. Let's start with Vata. Air and ether, or air and space. Sometimes it's used as a space, sometimes it's used as ether. Now, this one, particularly when we're talking about gut-brain axis, it's an important one. And they're all important, but look at this one. This bioenergy, this dosha governs all the movement, communication, and nervous system. This is the key that I want you to take away also after that first part. Vata is the one that is responsible for that connection between gut and brain. And not only that connection itself, but everything between. For example, if there's any signaling that has to go from gut to brain or vice versa, it is governed by Vata. Now, if it's balanced, this is the perfect, beautiful dosha, just like the other ones, is responsible for the creativity and vitality. But if it's too much, it causes anxiety, insomnia, and irregular digestion. See, until that last word, you may say, oh my gosh, okay, Vata, I know, I learned already. It's all about being nervous, it's communication, connection, creativity. I have this artistic part in me, and then boom, irregular digestion. That is also responsible for digestion. So Vata is not only for the nervous system, but also for digestive health. So that's one, and that's exactly why I put it as the first one, because it's really, really important. Pitta consists of 2 elements of fire and water. Now, this one governs metabolism. It governs the transformation, both in the mind and in the body. So as a result of your balance, is responsible for the sharpness in the brain, in the mind, and also the great metabolism function in the body. When it's too much, we'll see inflammation. And I specifically put this as under Pitta because I'm seeing, especially recently, a lot of complaint with this at the clinic. It's also responsible for acid reflux if it's too much. Next dosha or bioenergy is Kapha, which is governed by 2 elements of earth and water. Now, this one governs the lubrication, the immune system. So when it balances, it's responsible for that calmness in your mind. And also in the body, just gives that a strength. But if it's out of balance, you will see weight gain and also in your mind lethargy, sometimes foggy mind as well. I usually hear this from postmenopausal women a lot. I have a foggy brain, and that itself, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about your digestive health system because it's very, very important. So now, when you're looking at these doshas, I am sure you are thinking, oh, so if I had inflammation, I have to look into the pitta part. If I have a weight gain, then I need to look into my kapha dosha. Yes, you are absolutely right. Digestive health issues are not only consist of one dosha of vata relating to a brain or one dosha of pitta. Sometimes people complain about all these factors at once. They say they have irregular bowel movement, inflammation, and also weight gain. So what do we need to do? If I have one way approach, then I'm going to just look at that inflammation. When I have a one-dimensional approach, I'm going to only focus on weight gain. But look at the bridge. There's a highway connection, you can say that, in the body between the gut system or gut health or digestive system and our brain. And that is the vagus nerve. You probably hear this a lot, practicing to that works or targets the vagus nerve. Let's just make a healthier version of vagus nerve. I'm seeing all that kind of things circulating around in social media as well. But what did Ayurveda taught us? That same bridge between brain and gut health is governed by prana vayu, which is a part of vata dosha that I was explaining to you. Because these doshas also can divide into different subtitles. But for this purpose of this webinar, you need to know that when you're hearing vagus nerve, don't think it's just something that is very recently discovered. It is because of that vagus nerve. It is because of that prana vata or prana vayu. The same, the meaning is exactly the same. That we need to look at both brain health and gut health at the exact same time. Think about it as a highway that all signaling from your autonomic nervous system and back into your gut is governed by this pathway. Why we call it bi? Because it's bidirectional. Just like how the signals move from your digestive health to your brain, in return, every order that brain gives is also goes through this pathway. So how can I not look at this, right? It's impossible to just cut that line. Let's say that I'm cutting this and I'm just going to look at why a person has acid reflux. I know that there's a lot of medication, but what about this? What about that signaling? So I want you to know that one of the main reasons that we keep saying, okay, gut brain, one of the main, of course, in the further workshops, we can talk about other pathways as well, but the main one is vagus nerve, according to modern medicine, governed by prana vayu in Ayurveda. It is very, very important to know this connection because what did I say about vata? Vata is all about movement. So any movement, number one, is responsibility. It's under vata. Now, prana, you might have heard this name before. The life force, the life energy, it is governed by that. So it's not only the connection, right? It's not that only prana vayu governs this movement of signaling and also all this transformation that's happening between gut and brain. But it's the pathway that the calmer that I am, the more prana, the life force that is getting into my body and my mind, that pathway will be stimulated in the most positive way. In Ayurveda, we look at this in many, many factors, from food to medicine. Just think about it this way. If this pathway is disturbed, then what happens? Let's just stay here for a moment, okay? Vagus nerve is a superhighway. We learned this between gut and brain. And in Ayurveda, it's equivalent to pranavayu, which is the energy that is governed by the movement and also life energy forces in particular. Okay, great. If I have a mental health disturbance, just let's say for the time being, and everybody is also suffering these days, unfortunately, anxiety or stress, or it could be even depression. This pathway is disturbed. If you are not taking care of that connection, unfortunately, the end result will be, of course, the mental aspect of it will be anxiety itself. It's a problem to look at it in very, very detail, but it's not only happening in anxiety cases. You need to look at the consequences of that disturbance in your gut health. I'll give you a few examples of a clients. When the clients comes in and they are looking at anxiety issues, and I ask them about their bowel movements, sometimes they look at me and they're like, I just want something to calm my cortisol level or my mind. Why is she asking me about bowel movement? And vice versa. If anybody has any questions or complain about this morning I had a client about gas, severe distension of abdomen. And I'm asking them about mental health. This is why. Because I know, and now we all know, that any disruption in that prana vayu can have consequences in both systems. This is why it's very, very important. But this is not new. We know this, as I said, from 10,000 years and maybe more. Modern science is the one that is focusing right now on this vagus nerve. You can see a lot of research talking about its connection with hypothalamus pituitary, how this actually vagus nerve is governing all, not only one, all the hormone pathways, lymphatic pathways, and many more. So it's like, okay, let's just talk about this vagus nerve and see what else is governing. Ayurvedic tradition says, okay, we all know that there's a connection. Now I'm just going to work on stimulating that prana vayu in the most positive way that I can build the connection between mind and brain. Now, we need both, right? We cannot deny one or another. Integrative health means knowing and learning both traditional and modern medicine, and just learn. Once you learn both sides, you can then combine them together and say, okay, yeah, we know this. From an Ayurvedic perspective, mainly we are focusing on prana vayu and mental health. From modern medicine, let's see what are the things that are stimulating for pituitary or hypothalamus. That was one of the biggest points in this free webinar. The second one is the digestive fire. Now, digestive fire in Ayurveda means Agni. We call it Agni, A-G-N-I. And again, we want this flame to be not at the burning level and not too low that we cannot see the flame, but at the exact mid-range we call equilibrium balance. It's very, very important for us. Whenever we talk about, you talk about or you learn or about Ayurveda, you need to know Agni. Because other than, let's say, one pathway that we discussed in this case of Vegas pathway, okay, there's a connection I learned. But what about now internally? Agni is the one, digestive fire is one force that is crucial for my digestion, for my metabolism, and also for my mental clarity. Ayurveda doesn't separate them. So, for example, I'm sure you have heard this terminology. Let me digest this thought, or let me, just go through with thought. Why do we call this digestion? Isn't a digestion happening, in the gut system? Because they are all one working towards one goal. If you have a mental clarity, which Agni is the one that is causing it, and also a perfect metabolism, then the chances of you having that disruption of that pathway is very, very low. But if you don't have that, then we have a disruption in that pathway also. How do I increase that fire in me? This is one of the common questions that I get. Okay, great. Ayurveda has all these tools for all of us to learn about how can I not increase that will burn, but maintain this Agni. Number one is, of course, the food. Beautiful guideline for Ayurvedic food. We put a specific spices in our food that sometimes, when people are looking at it, they think that it's just an spicing up or marinating it, right? It's not that everything is calculated. So when we see that an Agni in a person is less, and how do I know that? Metabolism is not working fine. A person has indigestion, could be irregular bowel movement in the body, specifically in that digestive system, or they have less motivation, they're not aligned, the intelligence or focus or energy is lacking. And again, they usually tell us, I used to have a great energy to wake up in the morning to motivate myself and also my surrounding, but right now I just don't feel like doing it. What is missing? That fire. Again, I don't know how correct this examples will be, but always think about barbecue. We always need it. Put aside barbecue for any chemical reactions. Even if you take one simple chemistry class, they always talk about fire to bring up that maximum level qualities of elements. Exactly the same thing happens. So not only we have to look at digestive health from a brain and mental health perspective, not only we have to go through the pathway of the vagus nerve health and not make it disturbed, not only we have to look into the life force health, that what am I digesting, what kind of thoughts I'm digesting, but also we need to kindle that Agni, the fire. Because now we know, again, I have the habit of just summarizing as I go. So in order to have a healthy nervous system and healthy digestive system, we need to have that fire going. Now, in Ayurveda terminology, we have a term called or ama, and that is translated as toxins. Okay. When I have that balanced Agni and when I don't have that Agni, let's just talk about what are the things that can actually trigger that. When I have a balanced digestive fire, then it's steady, let's say it's balanced, I have a clear thoughts. I have clarity in my mind. Let's work on the mental aspect first. Okay. I have emotional stability. My thought process is very clear. And as a result of that clearness of thoughts, my decision making is also very good. That is in the mind. When Agni is balanced in your digestive system, these are the tools that I'm giving you to examine yourself. You can do this. Am I having a clear thoughts? Am I having an emotional stability? And if not, you have a big question to ask yourself about digestive health. In your digestive system, how are you observing? How's your metabolic system is working? You know, why we all of a sudden started taking all these probiotics? Because it was ultimately we discovered, or they discovered, people in research find out that the gut microbiome and the linings have been triggered by so many toxins throughout the years of our lives. So then, yes, maybe you took an antibiotic for so long, and that antibiotic came in and flushed all the bacteria. But as it was flushing out the bacteria, bad bacteria, it also flushed all the good bacteria. So then researchers started suggesting us to say, okay, you need to take probiotic. And then after probiotic, prebiotic was introduced to us. So then people are like, which one do I take? Which one do I need? They are all good for kindling the Agni in your digestive health if you're working with a professional who can guide you. But what about your mental health? Even if you have been taking many medication for balancing that gut health, you still need to look at the Agni in your brain and in your mind. And I have to point this out. When we say gut health, don't just look at the colon or stomach. The digestive system starts in the mouth. So you could have chronic burping. Okay. You can have any burning in the esophagus region. You can have pain in the right side, pain in the left. That's the entire digestive system that we're talking about. So please don't think that I'm only referring to colon, but for the purpose of this conversation, I'm just generalizing things for you to see the bigger picture. And when this is not at the optimal level, the Agni, let's say an emotional level, when you have too much anxiety, too much stress, or in general, you're having too much cold foods at the inappropriate time of season, you're disturbing your fire. Because again, according to Ayurveda, everything has to be in a season, everything has to be according to your prakriti, to your dosha. So when you're stressing out, when you have anxiety in your mind and in your brain, you are already there, like you are decreased that flame. And by decreasing that digestive fire flame, you have disturbed the pathway of that vagus nerve too. So the signaling of work there, work not there, release this hormone, release this happy hormone, don't release it, everything else will be disturbed. Improper food eating, heavy meal, eating out all the time. These are also the facts that will unfortunately have the consequence of decreasing or weakening your Agni. We all know food is as medicine. We do not look at different organs in a different path of saying, okay, I know that food is really good for my gut health, but did I know that food is also plays an important role in my mental health? What kind of food do I need to have in order to increase that life force, to increase my Agni? It's very, very crucial. And in Ayurveda, we call those food sattvic foods. They are all nutritional factors that are helping both my gut health and my brain. So both access to be at the maximum optimal level. Sattvic food are very, very important in Ayurveda. You know, Why do so many people have inflammation these days in their diagnosis? High sugar content. You are ultimately increasing that aggression of your agni, and that will cause the burning, that cause that lining of your gut to be inflamed. What else? So many sour food, so many spicy food, if you are not familiar with inflammation that is already existing. So sattvic foods are the foods, or sattvic diet is the diet that it will balance that inflammation, that will balance that irregularity in your bowel movement, irregularity in your digestion, by technically working both in your mind and in your brain. That's why you get a really good feeling when you have honey or good sugar level. I'm not talking about the processed sugar, but sattvic food that comes from the rice or coconut rice or milk. But again, not this milk we're talking about, the actual organic milk that was introduced as a first meal when we were a baby. So every food in Ayurveda becomes a message to your brain. This is why it's very, very important to look at happy hormones such as serotonin. I will talk a lot about these hormone aspects in a near workshop. I think we're planning for 2 to 3 hours. And in that discussion, I'll talk to you about why is it important to take care of all that happy hormones, because people think all these beautiful feeling hormones or neurotransmitters are produced in the brain. No, more than 80% of it, more than 90% of it, actually, the recent studies show that is produced in your gut. So this is why when I'm actually looking at someone with depression, with anxiety, with the stress, and you keep giving them, it could be any medicine, herbal medicine, herbal remedy, or even pharmacological medication to calm their mind, but not looking at gut. What about that hormone or neurotransmitters that are produced in the gut? It will maybe make that person a little numb to think more. So it will be like less reactive. But I don't want that person to be less reactive. I want the mind and body to work aligned with one another. I want the agni to keep moving and keep burning, actually, but in a optimal level. I want the pathway of vagus nerve to work. I want all hormones and neurotransmitters that are regulating my body to work appropriately. So for that appropriate goal, I cannot look at only mind or brain or only gut health, specifically serotonin. There's a lot of other hormones as well, but I spend a little bit more time with serotonin. As you can see here, look, the brain serotonin is 5%, but gut serotonin is 95%. So if you want to be happy not in a sense of, oh, juggly, like, a bubbly personality. No, to have a clear thoughts, to have a clear mind, and also happy bowel movement, a regular bowel movement, not have any kind of abdominal distension or complaint, inflammation, acid reflux, you name it. You need to work on gut lining. It's a must, whether you have either one of them. So if you have any kind of need help with anxiety, need help with any kind of depression, please look at this, because as I said, it's remarkable that not a lot of people are looking at this in a way of emotional balance. Most of emotional balances in our life is controlled by serotonin, and 95% of that serotonin is released in digestive health. Now, there are a lot of factors and practices that we can do. We call it dual healing. Okay, as I said, Everything that I discuss in this webinar is just for an educational purpose. It's not for your own diagnosis. You need to discuss all this with Ayurvedic practitioner. Why? For the same reason that I discussed at the beginning. You need to know what is your body constitution. You need to know what dosha is governing this whole pathway, which we know now, prana vayu, and you need to know what to do in order to stimulate this in the most optimal level. But there are simple ways that we can discuss at this webinar with you that will work on both that connection and that Agni. We don't want to say hacking it, but triggering it in the most positive way. So now we know that mental health is important. And what is the first practice that Ayurveda suggests us to do or practice is any kind of pranayama, breathing techniques. Breathing techniques are fantastic for clearing up that toxins that I told you. That toxin can be thoughts, it could be worrying, it could be anything. And also to increase that life force in you. Because if your life force is at optimal level, what happens? That vagus nerve also it's activated in the most positive way. One of the examples is humming bee breath. Okay, I will type the background of the link that I'm going to share with you just in a chat box so you will have it. But this is just one. You can always Google and YouTube and find it. But I want to show you, if that's all right, now that we have time, so that you can see what do I mean by that. This is one of the most practical ways to manage that stress level. At the same time, you can actually govern that life force. One of them is, of course, as I said, breathing to any pranayama, but this is a humming bee techniques. Let's look at it together.
Humming bee breath technique, also known as Bhramari pranayama. Sit cross-legged with your spine erect. Breathe normally with your mouth closed and teeth slightly apart. Now lift your elbows to shoulder level and close your ears by pressing down the tragus with your thumb. Place an index finger above each eyebrow. With your gaze fixed between your eyebrows, shut your eyelids and cover them with each middle finger. Place the ring fingers beside the flare of each nostril. This hand gesture, known as Shanmukhi Mudra, enables sensory isolation. Take a slow, deep breath to fill your lungs with fresh air. Now, partially shut your nostrils with your ring fingers and breathe out through the nose by making a humming sound. Try to sustain the humming for as long as you can. Repeat this 5 to 10 times while focusing on maintaining a controlled drone. Bhramari pranayama improves concentration, relieves hypertension, and lowers stress and migraines.
So I'm sure you can practice it at home as well. This is the most technical part, but there are also a lot of easier ways to do it as well. You don't, if you're in a rush or you can't just cover or just go all the fingers with covering it, you can just do it easily as well. The most important thing is that this breath. Now, Ayurveda loves science. When people ask me usually, is there any scientific background about it? I'm so excited. I'm like, yes, it does. What does that do? If you're sitting at home and if you just do this practice of saying just a song and not doing anything, okay? This sound causes a vibration. And that vibration is actually activating your vagus nerve. There you go. You have a tip from tens of, thousands of years ago. And now you see research saying, oh, please activate your vagus nerve. Please work on stimulating. This is a very, very simple way. You can do it in the cycles of 5. You can start with 2. But when you're doing it, especially I suggest if you are at the stress level, I call it stress mode, you can start practicing this. If you have any digestive issues as well, you can start it. But of course, if you have any breathing problems or anything difficulties, any polyps, you can't do it. Always discuss this with healthcare professionals, but this is the most powerful techniques, one of the most powerful techniques that not only calms you down. In the video, I mentioned about hypertension and etc. Don't think about that as a diagnosis, because we always look at nervous system. That's what it says all these diseases name. If you have any indigestion, if you have any problems in your colon, you can start practicing calming the breath. A lot of people love to do a calming practice, because a lot of indigestion issues that I usually see, it's I'm always on the phone, I'm doing something, I'm cooking, and then I'm looking at the news, and then I'm eating. And while I'm eating, I'm watching the news. So you're constantly stimulating your mind and your brain. And the more stimulation that the brain gets, unfortunately, the more disturbed. Think about it, poor pathway. You have one highway connection, and that highway connection constantly is like, okay, Rosa is reading a bad news, release this happy hormone. Oh, Rosa is now crying, release this. Oh, Rosa is actually excited, calm that hormone down. So it's not always activation, is when to say shut it down and off. Not only the emotional pathway, thirst, hunger, fullness, those are all governed by vagus nerve. Rosa is hungry, release this. Oh, Rosa is full, stop it. All that connection that is happening, which is fantastic, governed by the awareness in your body, is mainly through that vagus nerve. So what we can do, just a simple practice, calm your mind before even you want to meal or after your meal. 15 minutes. I mentioned mindful reading, but if some of my students said, sometimes reading gives me anxiety as well, I don't want to do anything. And I said, okay, then don't do anything. In Ayurveda, we love to walk after a meal. Fantastic. But whenever you are working on your parasympathetic system, if as if you're in a war of fight, the more you are in that mode, unfortunately, the more indigestion problem that you're going to get. So to start practicing, 15 minutes. I know sometimes it can be really, really hard for people. But when I'm eating at the office right now, after this webinar, I will not open my laptop. I do not work. I don't look at my cell phone, because my mind is already full. And let me tell you this, the moment that you are in the parasympathetic system, think about this as if parasympathetic, sympathetic, it's a system that tells us there's a lion in front of you, run. So the lion will not eat you. But if you're constantly thinking that there's a lion there and your life is in danger, what happens? You want to run constantly. That system, if it triggers in that most imbalanced format, it sends a signal that says, oh my God, release, release, release. Oh, the movement of colon is disrupted. Why? Because she's thinking so much. Or according to constitution, it's blocked. Why did you block it? Brain says to the colon. Because I do not want to digest. I don't know what else to do, because she's not eating properly and the mental health is not at peace. Each cell in your body has this magnificent intelligence. So please take care of it. Please be more mindful of what you're eating, what you're reading, what you're looking. When we're talking about kindling Agni and we say, work on your kitchen, I believe the world's best kitchen starts in your, pharmacy starts in your kitchen. So that's the greatest pharmacy that you have. You do not want to manipulate, you do not want to disturb this beautiful system. Liver, right? Poor liver, how many functions does it have? More than 250. But if you keep giving it alcohol, do not expect that pure ultimate detoxification from it. So mindful eating, sattvic eating, mindful practices in general, such as pranayama or breathing techniques, are great to keep our mind and body aligned now that we know they're connected with that highway. Of course, there are so many modern beautiful herbs that it can work on that system. As I mentioned, none of these herbs are for any diagnosis per se, but we need to look at the herbs that work on this axis, not only working for gut and not only working for mind or brain. Brahmi, ashwagandha, gota cola. These are the herbs that have dual action. It's very important to look at modern pharmacology by a little bit doing a research about the mechanic behind it. So when you are given a herb in Ayurveda and you go and Google, or thanks to ChatGPT, everyone now just does it in a second, you're looking at it and it says, oh my gosh, this is for mind. I went to her for my bowel movement. Now you know there's a reason. Because Brahmi, ashwagandha, or gota cola, its function is to work on that vata nervous system that governs the movement, that is mainly for balancing your thoughts. Because we know, according to Ayurveda, if you balance it, if you start with that, you will see the rest. You will see an improvement. Always, always mind. Ashwagandha is another beautiful herb. Unfortunately, of course, these days have been, just given out so much without supervision. And I have to make that very, very clear. Not always appropriate for everyone. And also a different format of use. It's very important, whether you're taking it in a tablet form, whether you're taking it in a powder form. But why do we see ashwagandha all of a sudden everywhere? It's because the outcome of research that people, for example, it was before for stress related. So you would see all these studies saying ashwagandha helps the stress release, ashwagandha helps cortisol level. But now that everyone's looking at this axis, they're saying, oh, actually it improved the digestive health issues as well. Oh, it worked on a person who had malnutrition. Oh, it actually worked on the muscle. So this is how we formulate things in Ayurveda, always. I want to conclude this webinar by saying, number one, this is just teeny tiny bit of gut-brain axis from both Ayurvedic, neuro, I usually call it a neurogastro, because again, it's nervous system and gastrointestinal system. Honor this axis, please. From now on, I hope it was all clear out and I made it simple to understand for everyone who, whether took Ayurveda before or not, honor this axis and say, I am honoring this connection. You can say the names of vagus nerve, prana, vayu, or not. Just know that that super highway is important. Kindle that Agni. Work on your digestive system. The sattvic foods that will decrease inflammation. The dates, as I said, honey, milk, rice. These are all beautiful sattvic meals that are helping your Agni to be most in a balanced format. Practice daily. Try to incorporate any breathing techniques or any mindfulness techniques in your diet. Many times people think, oh, I need to go and change to my yoga pants and I have to have my meditation mat. And who's going to do all of that? Just showed you it takes less than 30 seconds to just practice one breathing techniques. And that one technique, trust me, it will activate the vibration, and you will see the result, hopefully, in any condition. And then integrate both wisdom. Don't ever say, that modern science is bad, or I'm not going to do colonoscopy because I have ashwagandha. No, you need to know the cause of your problem. That's our first goal. But use this knowledge of Western world, and know this knowledge and use this knowledge of holistic medicine. Combine them, honor them, to help you to achieve a better life, and less the stress or stimulation in a bad way. When diet is wrong, medicine is no use. When diet is correct, medicine is no need. I hope this was a helpful webinar for all of you. You have taken a few points, and it made sense to just listen and then go through and honor that access of your different body system. And it was helpful. Thank you so much for listening. I will, as I said, planning on having this longer version of this workshop of brain gut health. And of course, you will be notified if you would like to register for that one as well. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Rosa. That was wonderful and so informative. I want to open it to everyone here. You can feel free to send questions in the chat. There's the option to send a message to host and panelists, which is where I would encourage you to send your messages, or you can raise your hands right now if you want to ask Rosa any questions. All right, so the first question is just a recap of what pranavayu is.
It is. What is the name of the person? Julie. Okay. Julie. It's very. Sorry, Sarah. Can you mute yourself? Thank you. Sorry, it's echoing. Julie, it's a very, very long concept, but just know this, that each Vata, Pitta, Kapha, they divide into different forms or subtitles that are responsible. So one is responsible for the movement of the air or life force, which is prana vayu. But just remember by the name. So vayu is another name for, like, let's say vata. And you have different form of vata, 4 types of vata, 4 types of pitta, that are specifically working in one for one mission. Prana vayu, it's one of those subtypes of vata governing that is responsible for that movement of life force in your body. It's, as I said, it's a very, very long discussion, but just know that it's a subtype of vata dosha.
I hope that answers your question, Julie. I'll take the next is the pranayama, the video that you shared. What is the best time to do that pranayama?
Good question. I personally think there's a timing. I think it's a stress mode, of course. If you're feeling stressed, you can do it even double. But I would love to do it, personally speaking, morning and afternoon, to set a routine. So sunset, sunrise, it's always a good time to do that practice, so that is in a routine. However, if let's say that you have a stressful time at work or at home, do it as well. You have 5 to 10 cycles, but it's always a start from 2. Just see how your body is going to react. Number 1. And number 2, sorry, Sarah, it's very important to make sure there's no congestions going on. You don't have difficulty breathing, because a lot of time in the cold weather, when people have congestion nose or runny nose, it could be really difficult for them. So avoid that during those times.
All right, and Lisa's question is, any recommendations for supporting your thyroid, particularly an underactive thyroid or the Hashimoto's disease?
Lisa, that's a wonderful question. Out of our discussion. Please don't mind me, but I would say this as a general terminology. Thyroid health also needs to know, you need to know the direction of metabolism health with thyroid health before you just jump in and for Hashimoto. or underactive or overactive. We cannot look at thyroid, any related thyroid issue, without looking at the gut health and the metabolism of gut. This is one thing that I can tell you, because I also have a lot of clients with Hashimoto. Please make sure that you have all the tools for supporting your gut health. I hope that helps. And we can definitely talk about thyroid health maybe in another webinar as well. Thank you. No problem, Lisa. Oh, no other question?
There's actually two more. So, about you specifically, Rosa, if you do consulting, and also the humming bee pranayama, can we do it after eating lunch?
Okay. I do have as a matter of fact, I'm right now in the clinic, so yes, I do. You can find me on the Kayash website, and also the information. I can just put it down, my name, my email, and my phone number as well here, for sure, definitely. And number two, you never do anything pranayama when you're full, when you're too full. We do not want that intensity of it, preferably not when right after you're eating lunch. So when you're eating lunch, we want your metabolism to start working. So maybe you can walk, but don't do it when you're too full. No other questions? Everyone's fine? Oh, that thrills me.
I've shared your Instagram link in the chat. I don't know if you want to put any other information, Rosa.
Yeah, this is it.
Okay.
rosenatural.com is my website. And on the Instagram, you can see the page as well. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, if that's all the questions for today, then we'll wrap up here. I see your latest question. We do not have weight loss specifically coming up in our upcoming webinars, but we do have nutrition coming up, and so you can, and that will encompass quite a broad range of things, including healthy weight management, most likely. So you can once again keep in touch with us through our website, newsletter, and social media for the dates of upcoming webinars and workshops. And also next Wednesday, February 25th at 6 p.m., we will have a virtual open house once again on Zoom. So you can come and bring your questions about Ayurvedic studies at KAISH or anything about the school and faculty. And yes, so we look forward to keeping in touch in several ways and seeing you all at future webinars and open houses as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was to be here. We always are open for your feedbacks as well. So any feedbacks is appreciated, and looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Bye.
Bye, everyone.